the second will be calling in, and
Good
he's
thing
gonna.
I didn't keep muted because.
Well, chance you want. Anyway,
I get it. He's not he's on the road traveling
and he's gonna be talking about the Bundy issue going on. He's gonna be talking about Las Vegas because that's where he is right now, and he's gonna be talking about. Well, let him surprise you. So.
Okay.
It should be the famous Vinny gonna spill the beans about what's going on out there, and there he is now.
There he is. Okay, I'm gonna mute because he can't hear me anyway. So.
All right.
Okay, all right.
Hello, you're live on the Freakers Ball with Grimner and Moose Girl.
Hey, Grimner, hi, Moose Girl. This is Vince Easley calling in.
Hey, Vince Easley, how the hell are you doing?
I'm doing good. So I've been quite a week here in Las Vegas.
I imagine.
A lot happening. Yeah. Popped back over here to say I think somebody pinged me over here. There it is.
Yeah, they're talking about you. They're talking about you in the chat.
Okay. So the big headlines, of course, here in Las Vegas is this mass shooting. Nearly 60 people were killed and several hundred injured.
That's the story.
Yeah. So, and then then we go and talk a little bit about.
Yeah, Vince is a
Bundy
time
Ranch
traveler.
trial.
He's calling from the 1930s.
So this first part here, I'd like to be interactive here with you and with chat, and hopefully some of the fellows here. I see Rob works here, so we'll have some interjection. We want to talk about the Las Vegas shooting. There's been quite a bit said about it, and still being said about it. So I think some discrepancies that early on or assumptions can be put to rest. This guy Paddock, he's an obvious person. People were comparing him to the Sandy Hoax guy and some other picture of him in pink.
But, I couldn't. I mean, I saw the side-by-side comparisons with the Sandy Hoax guy, and you know, they look similar, but I don't think it's the same guy.
Yeah, pasty old white guys. So let's talk about Paddock. I believe he's a real person. You know, there's of course the Price's Actors school or camp on all this, but we'll talk about some of that as we go along. But about who Stephen Paddock was, we see his history. Back into the 70s, he was worked as a postal carrier, and on into, and I find this very interesting, from 78 to 84, he was an IRS agent. Now, his father, you remember, was on the FBI's most wanted list after escaping federal prison, being a bank robber. And so they find him up in Oregon in 78 when his son Stephen goes to work as an IRS agent. And they found him because of the job he was working in a bingo parlor. So coincidentally, or was he out there to find his pop that runned off, you know? That's something I hadn't heard, but I find an interesting possibility. And then from 84 and 85, he goes on to work for what became bought out by Mark, I blank on their name, Martin, what's their name? Lockheed Martin, there it is. So he came out, and for a couple of years there as in the defense contracting business. Now, the guy had, I think it's been recorded that he's made a lot of purchases, at least over the last 12 months, from firearms and ammunition. One of the containers that he had ammunition in, the ammo boxes, had one of the names that he had bought it from back in Arizona, and that guy says, yeah, he was trying to buy tracer bullets. He had the exploding target material and nitrate. Again, I blank. But anyways, yeah, the exploding stuff, a bunch of that, and some ammonium nitrate. Lots of stuff. He had stockpiled this stuff. And people are saying, oh, this old man couldn't pack all that stuff up all them flights of steps through an elevator or whatever. But it appears the guy was pretty tall guy. The Filipino woman, his girlfriend, probably, somewhere about 5 foot, right in there. So he towers over her. He's got to be 6 foot something. He didn't look like he was just old and worn out. So whether he carried him up there or, bag by bag, or he had the porters take it up, which is most likely. I mean, why would anybody even think of anything? Besides that, they have, guns are common in Vegas. People, nobody would think twice, and the big shot show's coming up as well. So anyways, this guy Paddock, he's probably a capable man. Who knows what an autopsy? His brother's hoping that it turns out he had cancer or whatever. But who knows? The guy went on a rage. Now, a neighbor in Mesquite said, that she had seen the lady, Mary Lou. She had made some time in August there, loading up, had got a new car, and was basically packing out of there, kind of contradicting this woman's statement to the FBI after she returned Wednesday to testify. Also saying that Stephen Paddock seemed to be scrambling and moving things about. So we're wondering about any discrepancy there in her testimony, because if she has lied or excluded any information, even then she can probably expect to be charged. Probably is not going to be allowed to leave out of the country anytime soon. Anyway, so Paddock, I think, was probably capable. I think he's certainly identified a lot of his purchases. You've been accumulating this. I think that's records track. You need to see a lot more things as far as information. A lot of people assume the hotels that the hallways have cameras. It used to, that wasn't policy. I'm not sure about now. So we need to see some credible audio analysis. A friend of mine,
let me just say, you're not going to get. I mean, if this was as it appears to be, and I know you think he could have done it, right? There's no question that physically he probably could have done it without any problem. But if there was any funny business going on, which I believe there was, you're not going to get the real audio or the real video of that, because they're not going to obviously expose themselves in pulling off this kind of a deal.
Okay, so I'm catching this a little bit over here in chat. It says, do I believe the official story? Normally I never do. I am taking being the devil's advocate here, and I am parroting what is being put out there, the information that we're receiving. Now I come to the other page over here, and of course I have this big long list over here of other discrepancies that we could talk about as I intend. And have a look at that, and some questions. There's questions that should be answered, and with what's being presented is what they have, what evidence they do have there should be, beyond any doubt, it should be presented. I'll pause for a moment before I go into this list and allow anybody to make a statement here, and then I'll relay a personal story as to what did a report of what came that I just got tonight from my niece. So she works in the venue and could have herself been there, but as the event was happening, her friend was texting. So I've been looking to see some of these videos. This is in this other side of this list over here of questions. I've not seen. And people are asking, and it might sound like it's gory or whatever reason that they want to, take this stuff offline, which, it's certainly been censored highly. So I'm not even sure if this video is going to be available, but her friend sent it to her as it was happening, and reports, that, of the carnage, just seeing it firsthand. And then a cop who's a friend of hers, a girl covered in blood, came up to him. I mean, I have secondhand, I might say then, of course. So what really happened, nobody knows, and I hope it's going to be worked through. So I'll posit that right there, and then we can talk about some of these questions if you'd like to interject.
Okay. Well, you could start off from the first night when stuff was going down, and you could see the video and see what was going on there at the scene, and listening to the audio of that. It certainly, if this guy was the shooter or one of the shooters, then he was. There's no way he was the only one. You could hear at least two guns firing full auto. I don't believe that was a bump stock that was being used at that point. It certainly didn't sound like the way a bump stock would sound. It sounded like a full auto going on.
That's my impression also, and my friend, like I said, is a gun expert. He told me very early on, before it was mainstream narrative there, he sent me that message, and of course I said to her in chat at the same time that was two machine guns. Now, what people don't know what a machine gun is, they would think that an AK-47 is a machine gun, and it's not. I've listened to a great many different videos of guns being shot from the SAW. These guns are, a cheap one maybe you could get for $10 grand, but $15,000-$20,000 is, and $30 grand, $50 grand. You're looking at a lot of money. Now, this guy had a lot of money, so he had means to buy these things. I don't know. To me, I want to know what happened for 75 minutes. Okay, so the guy shot for 10 to 15 minutes. This is reports, right?
Right.
So what happened? We've got the guy, the Aussie, that said that there were several shooters and several people killed. Was there a cleanup crew in there at that time?
Well, not only that, but if you're watching the videos from the outside of the Mandalay Bay there, you can see down on the lower levels, like the fourth floor, so a bunch of shots going off from there.
Yeah, I think that can be discounted. It was shown to be a reflection. That's my opinion. And no busted window. How? No, I didn't go down and look for any busted windows. I'm on the edge. I'll be moving here the first of the week. That will roll into the Bundy coverage, which may not be as that turns out. But before we get to that, we'll continue more on this list. So talk about cameras. There may not necessarily be cameras in the hallway. Now, he set up some cameras. He set one, I guess, up in a food cart outside his door. That's how that was easily done. I said easily. He said he disabled some alarms. So it's reported that the security guard reported up there because of an alarm going off. I guess he had also a camera into the peephole and shot through the door and hit the guy in the leg. That's a report. So what we need, this is a long time here, 75 minutes from that time. So the guy shoots for 5 to 10 minutes. What has happened in that meantime? And where did that security guard, where did he report? How far did he, back up? Did he go down the steps?
I don't know, but I do know.
Elevator.
I do know it was reported almost immediately to the 911. This is where the guy is shooting from. This is the exact spot. You go to the Mandalay, you go up there to the 32nd floor. That's where he's shooting from. And it took them. Vegas is not a large town. I've been there many a times. Of course, I never lived there. I don't know like you do. But Vegas is not a large town, but there's cops everywhere. And there's no way it took them 72 minutes to get from wherever they were up to his place. It just didn't happen. That's an impossibility.
There's a lot to be said about that. There's reports of gunfire at different hotels.
Right, the Bellagio, somebody shot up the lobby there apparently.
I never seen anything of any bullets on that. So I wonder. A lot of these reports would have been confusion. So I don't know how long the cops in that 75 minutes. So they were waiting supposedly for the SWAT team to arrive. There were 4 officers that got to the door. So how much time is that? There's a lot we need to know, and not for the glory's sake.
If somebody's up there in a hotel sniping away, you don't wait that long and just give them all that time to just blow a bunch of people away.
No, you think not, right?
Right. I mean, some guy on the ground with a nice rifle, at least take a couple shots up that direction. And then apparently I saw a story he was trying to shoot at these big old gas tanks that were there. You heard about that one?
Yeah, I did. I seen that earlier in the week. Just penetrate the tank. I'm not sure to what degree what information we have is viable. To me, it's looking like this guy was an arms dealer, possibly even with the Fast and Furious deal there and setups and the buys. And I'm not sure. Coincidence? This guy, had gathered all these arms and then decided to flip out or what, but there was reports of this guy. He was just like it was talking about earlier from the neighbors, just moan and groan, and so he was alcoholic. He was on Valium. So right now, I'm reserving judgment. I'm still looking for more information. I still have questions. People are giving me a hard time in here, thinking I'm buying some narrative. I'm not. I'm evaluating.
Well, he's an old guy. He's allowed to moan and groan.
Yeah, probably. There is a lot of questions. Then note. So supposedly that has some numbers on it. I'm not sure what those would be about. Whether he's, calculating elevation or whatever. Maybe bank routing numbers. Maybe the buy was going bad. There's a lot of scenarios that could happen, and we've got some holes to fill in before we can really take that to a logical assumption, and then, of course, onward from there in determining how it all occurred. Unfortunately, it's my belief that it'll never be solved until just what they say happened. Well, if what it is that has happened. What I do find very curious is all these the cultism of it and the numbers that come into play of 32.
Okay, well, just for the numbers, I saw this was on a meme earlier today. Okay, this was the Route 91 festival, right?
Yeah, 91 Harvest.
91 Harvest. So 91, and it happened on October 1st. So you got 91101.
Nice.
Nice, huh? 91101. Yes, indeed. There's something going on with those numbers right there, let me tell you.
Yeah, there's a lot into this numerology, besides the fact that, it's claimed by some that it was
and then
sacrifice.
You also got to take into account the association with the Mandalay Bay of Sheldon Adelson. You know Sheldon Adelson, right?
Yeah, I was reading about that today. And,
he's the big guy behind all the naked body scanners.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we can expect to see in the coming future of the casinos.
So they kill off several dozen people, injure a bunch of other people, in order to make billions or trillions of dollars off of these naked body scanners that are going to be imposed upon everybody going into any, and I'm sure not just hotels and motels either, but all kinds of places,
We got to be safe, Grimmer. Come on.
Oh, they don't make you safe. Those things don't make you safe. They don't stop nobody at an airport from doing any kind of. They've proved over and over again that anybody wants to sneak shit through is going to sneak shit through, and if they have a desire to. So those things don't stop nothing. So there's no safety involved there. That's not the point. The point is,
I'm laughing at Moosey. I'm sorry.
No, she should, and I intentionally waited until after you came on, because I knew you were going to discuss this before we talked about it on here, because I got several stories lined up that raise some serious questions beyond what we're discussing here.
And well, they should.
Oh yeah, Chertoff's big into this too, man. Anyway, so yeah, like, you know, we're not gonna, it's just like 9/11. You're not gonna find the truth.
That's right.
No,
it'll be discussed for a very, very long time.
And even if they had a Las Vegas commission, like they had a 9/11 commission, you're going to wind up with the same bullshit at the end.
Absolutely.
I
agree. And
they're just going to make up whatever story fits their agenda, and that'll be it. And then everybody will have to buy that. They could bring in NIST to do some whatever calculations they do, and they're just going to say whatever, you know, fits the agenda. So
to whatever extent, I think there's probably many more people involved in this. That's my official opinion.
Right.
At this point in time.
Not saying this guy wasn't up there, didn't shoot a bunch of people, because he probably did, but he wasn't alone. Ain't no way about that. And this was far more planned out than what we're being told, that it's this one guy and he had some explosives. They said the explosives in his trunk were, so if he was able to get away back to his car and drive off, and the cops started shooting at the trunk of his car, that stuff would go off. It's just like, really?
Tannerite, that's the word I forgot earlier.
That's the story you're coming up with there on that?
So I did share a video, 20 pounds of tannerite versus a dump truck, and remote detonation with a small dose of lead applied to the canister, and kaboom. So, yeah, and let me segue here, and I'll leave, let me cover the Bundys real quick here.
All right.
Like I said, there is a lot to consider on all this, and to jump on to a theory and hold on to it, because there are several of them out there, and time constraints wouldn't even begin to allow us to discuss those all properly. But moving towards media, and I'll real quick pause for there. Thanks to Maxine Bernstein at Oregon Live, and Cherry Roberts for countering. I think I'm saying it wrong here. Countering the rhetoric, but I know I just said that wrong. Sorry, Cherry. She's this idea of citizen journalism. If I can just run through this real quick, there is this debate, and I say this on towards Santilli and people like Gary Hunt, not being given credit as journalists. I mean, writers. What is the writers? They have passion, and Sherry, I see that in yours, and certainly an agenda, and that's why we've questioned why such dedication in being against the Bundys here and those involved particularly. Why the passion of against it, and what is the agenda behind it? And we look at those who have the stakes in the stakeholders and the ones that are hiding behind their stalking horses. More lessons from behind the woodshed, of course, Sundays here at noon Pacific from Hal Anthony. So we question this journalism, and who is Pete Santilli? He's out back to sentencing early next year in January. Now, I called it when it first started hitting there that there's going to be some link to the Bundy Ranch, and so it turns out Paddock buys one of his guns from a guy who's self-proclaimed bodyguard, I guess he is, that worked at the gun shop there in Mesquite. There's been some filings. Let me see if this is still going to be open. because it closed last time. Sam and Bundy following a motion by Ryan Payne to either extend the trial for 90 days or preferably move it to up to Reno. And in this, good, it's still open. This is from Maxine on her issuu.com page on Bundy's filing. And I think this is very important in here, in this filing, and I'm going to read some of it and just to the conclusion. Hardly a day passes that a media story is not published about the recent events, and the story and investigation continues to play out daily in local and national press. I'll surmise that. They're talking about these alleged connections between Bundy Ranch and this the shooter Paddock, making for where there wouldn't be a fair trial, that it wouldn't be fair to draw a jury from a jury pool, that is, here in Vegas. Later on in the conclusion, it goes to say that they think that they should be able to draw, and they call this the district, of course, so this is into that legalese and jurisdiction. Hal has asked if they've challenged that jurisdiction through quo warranto. Well, you go into some of the filings from Ryan Bundy, and this is why Navarro is saying, you know, he can't represent himself. He's following all these crazy stuff. You know, I'll give an example of that in a moment. So, anyways, they want to draw from the jury pool throughout the state, and Navarro goes on to say she certainly doesn't want him to go to Oregon because, well, the bottom line is it's more conservative there, and I don't know why the magnitude of this case, anyways, it shouldn't automatically, the jury pool shouldn't be drawn from the entirety of the state, and there's some more provisos in there, and thanks again, Maxine, for all the reporting, and she's a person I would consider in media that she's not interjecting her, and I'm pretty sure she's left-leaning, but you don't see it in her reporting. So, true journalist there, in my opinion. Thanks. So, let's see here. Do I have? Excuse me. If I have all these pulled up here, I had the one more about Ryan. Andrea Parker, her husband, she's reporting, and then her husband, Eric, their lawyer was going to quit, but as it turns out, he's not going to. So it's been asked that Gloria Navarro recluse herself. Let's see if I've covered everything. This is all this stuff tied in here for, you know, we're going to see some reaction in law and so forth. No matter.
So the court, the next court is on Tuesday, right?
No, they've, I think you about lost that right there. It's been set for October the 30th because they were filing for that, you know, the extra timer to move it. But they have to be in court the 24th, and they'll decide at that time if the extra days there till the to the 30th is enough time, or if they want to add more, or if they need to proceed with the jury. But basically, Navarro said the trial is moved till October. Is it the 30th? And then continuing. So I mean, with the same jury pool they've already got picked. But with all these filings, this, even if they're convicted, it will certainly have to be overturned in the district. I mean, well, in appeals. I think there's just this woman has been so biased. It's phenomenal that you know, other people in her class up there wouldn't just pull her down and say, you know, you're exposing us here too much, you know, because it's a rigged game, obviously. And I think we need to go and look at the source of where this comes from, and you can go back into the 70s, and you see when you look at, for example, the report from Iron Mountain, we see how wars are used to control, and not just the wars where we're going over and bombing other countries, but these wars like the war on poverty and, the environmental war, the drug war. We see all these wars where it's great expense of resources and lives. So all wars are bankers' wars.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, so we've got to see the events as whether they be perpetrated by a sick individual like Paddock's portrayed to be, or if it is a deep conspiracy. But either way, they never let a good crisis go to waste. So don't be controlled by the rhetoric, without having gone fully through all the grammar of the who, what, where, and when, and know why. And to know why, then we can see how. And that's becoming more and more obvious, I think, to many more people. So I guess we fight on, or go find us a place to hole up and live out our lives, or keep talking. So, am I a writer? No. I write a lot. I have 3 notebooks that I've written here in front of me. I know most of those are notes and stuff. So I'm not just somebody that has an opinion. I try to make it more informed. And if you're thinking that I'm not buying or I am buying the main line, I think you're missing what I'm saying here, because definitely ain't.
Okay. No, I believe you. I mean, I know you better than to think that you're just saying, oh, the government says this, so it's all good with me. No, I know that's not you. But you, of course, have to, like you said, playing the devil's advocate, meaning the government's advocate, because the government is the devil. Advocating for them, but we know that you have much more intelligence than that, than to buy into that. You've seen this shit from the inside, so to speak, and been there. So, but like I said, we're not going to know. We're not going to get the real information out of this. I personally think this guy was either a fully incorporated agent of whatever governmental agency, or